Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 15th or 16th, depending on where you are, of Feb 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comments. In the headlines today, not an awful lot really, but the latest round of hotfixes has arrived, so you can be fairly happy about that. Go and peruse those. Not a huge amount of them, although bear in mind that they have now officially implemented that exalted title change I was talking about, so that should in theory be hotfixed into the game, but bear in mind that sometimes it requires a realm restart in order to take effect. So if you don't get that back immediately, then don't worry. They also nerfed the hell out of the mysterious potion, so alchemists are probably a little bit annoyed. The Blizzard art gallery has been updated with an image by the one and only Samwise of Blizzard fame, and it is, sadly, pandering to furries. Yeah. Yes, try and take it in an innocent manner, but I'm sorry, I've been on the internet for too long. I simply cannot. I cannot. Purge it with fire. Purge it with fire. And with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. Soothing Grain seems to be of the belief that I want it, I want it, I want it is the most constructive way of getting something to be implemented into the game. Indeed, that is basically their only reason. Oh god, reinstate the Amani Warbear, because it's such a cool mountain, I'd love to have one. Big deal. You would like to have an awful lot of things, no doubt, but if you didn't put in the effort at the time, then tough frickin' cheese. Unfortunately, it looks like Blizzard has decided that they may want to pander to it. And Zarhym says that one never knows what might happen with Suleiman or the treasures of old found therein. Please don't do that, Blizzard. Have you not gotten this into your heads yet? Seriously, it devalues the sentimental value and indeed the collector's value of an item by reinstating it afterwards. For God's sake, bloody quit it. It is okay to have some rare items within the game. Really, it is. Can we please stop trying to get rid of the rarity of the item in every possible opportunity? That would be very much appreciated. Here's a fact. What keeps some people playing is the fact that they have something kind of cool and unique on their character that not a lot of other people have. Because let's be honest, in a world where everyone is wearing exactly the same tier gear and riding exactly the same sodding mount, it is a very cool thing to have something to mark your individuality in this otherwise identikit copy-paste game. So please, don't do that. I don't have an Amani Warbear. I don't want an Amani Warbear, because you know what? I didn't earn it at the time, and I accept that because I'm not 8 years old. Serenia asks, exactly what is it with Blizzard and eels? The quest designers have some kind of grudge against eels, and indeed there are 3 quests that involve the indiscriminate extermination of eels. That is a little bit terrifying, folks, isn't it? And Daxxari responds by saying that sure, there are those that pretend they don't mind them, and others who actually claim to favor them. They are lying. Yes, indeed. That's a kind of a scary thing, isn't it? Like Blizzard and poop quests. I don't know what the hell it is with the quest designers sometimes, really. This one by Kobe Wan asks about the possibility of tri-spec, which is an interesting idea that sort of cropped up recently. However, vaneras responds by saying that having tri-specs would certainly make talent trees rather trivial and talent builds less meaningful. It was a concern back in the day for hybrid classes and people that enjoy both PvE and PvP, which is why they put dual specs into the game initially, but they do not want to make it so that it's incredibly easy to switch between whatever spec at whatever time. Indeed, that's a debate that will no doubt rage for a very long time to come. And this one comes from Dial, who is very upset about the change to the Cookie's Tenderizer, and I don't really blame him for that, honestly. It used to be this amazing rolling pin, and now at level 85 it's just some generic mace. So, apparently, because you can't sheath it properly, and you can't have wonderful glowy enchants on it and have it display properly, they decided they needed to change it. So they've changed the heroic version of it, that's the 85 mace, and they've left the non-heroic version as it is, but quite frankly, I find that severely disappointing. Oh no, you can't have glow. It's like having bloody neons under your car. Glows got boring after 2005. I remember people getting all hyped up over, oh, lesser beast slaying. For God's sake. Please, we don't care anymore. We are beyond caring. At least I hope we are. Whatever the case, it's now time for your daily grind. Well, love is in the air, folks, everywhere I look around. And indeed, in this case, it's not only love that's in the air, it's deadly toxins. In this daily quest right here from the Goblin. It's one of a few random dailies, and this one involves spraying 10 random NPCs or players with their latest cologne. Somehow I think it might give you cancer. And with that, it's time for your weekly feature. Yes, indeed, folks, it is the Achievement Hog. Those of you who've been doing an awful lot of these seasonal events will of course be well aware that there are many achievements available for them, and they may also be aware that some of them take bloody ages to get. Now this episode of Achievement Hog is dedicated to those of us who are really lazy and absolutely adore the low-hanging fruit. So I'm going to show you 3 achievements available from the Love is in the Air seasonal event that you can get in a single day without too much of a problem or indeed time investment and hassle. Now pretty much every one of these achievements requires the acquisition of love tokens, which is the currency for this particular event, and they can be got either through dailies or through making charm bracelets. Now, what you need to do is go and pick up the charm bracelet kit from the flying horrible evil goblin thing over there, and charms can be gotten from any mob that will give you experience, and they will drop from those, and once you get 10 you can put them together into a charm bracelet that will yield 1 love token. Now if you do the first 2 daily quests that you get, let's assume that you've done absolutely nothing here. Again, this guide is aimed at people who are fairly lazy. Do the first daily to get 5, and then go and do the other daily, which involves getting a charm bracelet and gifting it to one of the world leaders. That will give you another 5. Now, as regards to where to farm the charms, there's a few options depending on what level you actually are. And what I would say is that you shouldn't do this if you're not level 85 or indeed the right class. This is a perfect area in Icecrown that you can find, and unfortunately it's not really all that possible to do if you're a level 81 like me, because there are far too many mobs. But if you happen to be, say, a paladin or a death knight, or indeed you're a level 85, which makes things a lot easier, you can farm this area to Kingdom Come and get huge amounts of charms. Personally, the place that I found that was really, really great is actually the Onslaught Harbour, which is over to the west in Icecrown Citadel. That will of course still give you experience, and the mobs don't pull in too large numbers. They're quite low in terms of HP, and they don't have any annoying niggling abilities. They respawn fairly quickly, and it's really easy to go and farm the charms that you need. Now, once you've handed those in, you will have 10 love tokens, and the first achievement we're going to be looking at will be the Rocket's Pink Glare. Now, all this requires you to do is spend 10 love tokens on buying 2 packs of love rockets. Then all you need to do is go bind them to a hotkey and then spam them as quickly as possible. You need to fire off 10 rockets in 20 seconds or less in order to get the Rocket's Pink Glare achievement. Shouldn't be a problem for you, and indeed that's the first achievement you can really get there. However, if you want to do the other 2 in one day, which you might want to do or you might not, bear in mind that the festival is going on all the way through to the 20th of February, so you've got a few more days to go. You can just do this with the dailies if you like, or if you want to go farm up the charms, then do that. The next 2 that you should get if you're looking for absolute efficiency are Flirt with Disaster and, of course, Sweet Tooth. These require the least love tokens in order to actually acquire them. There is another one which you can do, which involves killing the boss in the Shadowfang Keep dungeon, but bear in mind that you can't do that at all levels. You need to go queue for it. So, if we're looking at these 2, the first one we're going to look at is Flirt with Disaster. Now, if you're a Horde, what you're going to have to do is the following. You need to go and get yourself really, really drunk. Yeah, get yourself completely smashed. So go and buy some alcohol from the bar right next to the Love is in the Air vendors. You can just go buy a bunch of that. Now, you need to buy yourself a handful of rose petals, which will cost you 2 love tokens, and a perfume, not a cologne. A perfume. As I discovered, as you can probably see, cologne doesn't work. So that wasted a whole bunch of time for me. Then, as Horde, you need to go to the Undercity. Fly all the way into the middle of the Undercity, and to the left of the big bank area in the middle, you should find an NPC called Jeremiah Payson, aka the Cockroach Vendor. Now, do the following. If you haven't already, get blind drunk to the point where it says completely smashed. Now, use the perfume bottle on yourself so that you see the buff in the top right-hand corner. Then, throw the rose petals at Jeremiah Payson. After you've done all of those things, making sure that you are still completely smashed, any other level of drunk will not work, type /kiss. That will then give you the achievement. On the Alliance side of things, you need to do exactly the same thing, but you need to do it to Sraz, that is the gnome pie vendor that wanders around in Ironforge. Now, last but by no means least, you can go for this one, which is Sweet Tooth. Now, this does have a random element to it, so in theory, it should be the most efficient way of doing things, but it might not be, so do watch out. Now, what you've got to do here is eat all 8 kinds of Love is in the Air candies. Unfortunately, they are randomly generated. Now, on average, you should have to buy about 3 bags of these things, which cost 2 love tokens each, in order to actually get the achievement. You might get lucky, you might get them all in one bag, you might not, so make sure to buy 1 bag at a time, just spam it and just eat it until you actually get the achievement. If you're unlucky, it'll take longer than that, but bear in mind it will usually take significantly less love tokens than other achievements like, say, Shafted or Permapedal. So there you go, folks, there's the lazy guide to grabbing some nice and easy achievement points from this Love is in the Air event. If you're wanting to go the whole hog, then I would recommend that you go and check out the Wowhead guide to this, and I've put the link in the description below this video. That will tell you everything you need to know about completing the whole lot, including, of course, the ultimate meta achievement, which is Fool for Love, which is also required for what a long, strange trip it's been. And indeed, if any of you are actually doing that, then in my opinion, you're crazy. But hey, I'm not one to judge. You're crazy. And with that, it's time for the mailbox. This one comes in from Griff, who says, "Hi, I've been watching your cast for a while now, and I can say that I enjoy your work, but I'm writing to you with a concern of my own in the game. It seems more and more I find myself playing the game less and less. As it used to be back in Wrath, I would log on and be able to spend countless hours playing on my toons with the feeling like there was something to do. I'd farm, level my new toons, raid heroics, PvP. The thing now is that even with Cataclysm out, I find that there just isn't all that much to do, or at least have the feeling that there's something to do. I'm out of the raiding scene right now after my guild fell apart and the server transferred over with a friend of mine, and outside of that it's pretty much just grind rep and do heroics, which aren't all that much fun, and you can't just zoom through them like in Wrath. Difficulty was high at 329 gear as a healer, but as that number grows I find myself in the same situation as in Wrath of the Lich King: rejuvenate, wait for damage, poke at mouse. I'm not sure what to even do at this point, and whether or not I should be looking into other games, or maybe even go back to old console gaming. Thoughts? Also any games that strike your fancy when it comes to Xbox or PC. Well, here's the thing. It's not that there is less to do, it's that you've done this kind of stuff already. It's the same stuff, and that's the problem. I mean, the only thing I would really suggest is if you haven't done it already, go do 1 to 60 with at least 1 character, maybe 2, because trust me, it is worthwhile. It is really, really fun to do. Admittedly, that won't keep you going for all that long, but it is at least something to do. The problem with Cataclysm, as I've said, it's an evolution as opposed to a revolution. It did an awful lot of the same things that Wrath did, it just did them better, and I think that some people are starting to burn out on that now, because dailies have been in the game longer than Wrath, yeah? So people have kind of got used to that, and to some people it's getting really boring, the PvP is getting boring, etc, etc. There weren't any major revelations within Cataclysm, other than the fact that it's nicely polished and it's got a lot of good content in it. So a lot of people are kind of getting bored, so I've always tempered my WoW playing experience by taking breaks, significant breaks. I think if I hadn't, I'd have just quit the game years ago, because at the end of the day, WoW is extremely repetitive. It's just the case. It's the same with pretty much any MMO, with the exception of possibly EVE, but I can think of a fair few repetitive tasks in that game as well. MMOs just have this element to them that makes the game repetitive. So take a break, go play something else, try some single-player RPGs if you're into that kind of thing. Might I recommend the Mass Effect series, Dragon Age, with all of the DLC and the expansion if you haven't already, because Dragon Age 2 is coming out quite soon, so you might want to crack through that in the process. Have a look at The Witcher, have a look at Mass Effect and things like that. It's a good idea. Just blow off some steam, and when you're ready, come back to the game. When you have a reason to come back to the game. There is nothing wrong with unsubbing, folks. As much as Blizzard might tell you otherwise, really, there is nothing wrong with unsubbing for a while. Take a break and come back with some enthusiasm in your heart for the game. This one is a nice and quick one. It comes from Shape Ruler, who says, "Hello, TB. I was wondering how you achieved 120 FPS on your computer when mine is stuck at 60. Have you used any add-on or something similar?" It's very easy. And bear in mind, my FPS is actually a lot higher than 120. That's just what Fraps happened to lock it to at the time. It's fairly simple. You just need to go into your graphics options and turn off vertical sync. Yeah? Vertical sync is what's locking your frame rate to 60. Bear in mind, there is actually no point in turning off vertical sync. Vertical sync is in there to sync the refresh rate of the game to the refresh rate of your monitor, and it prevents so-called screen tearing. Now, that can happen, sometimes it doesn't, but whatever the case, you should really never need more than 60 FPS, honestly. I mean, you've got Counter-Strike players playing it much higher because they need every frame they could possibly get for maximum accuracy. But in a game like WoW, it's not going to make any difference. Regardless, if you want to see your mad FPS, go to your graphics options, turn off vertical sync, and then you should see the FPS go past 60 if your computer is good enough. This one comes in from Perk the Pally, and I'm having to translate on the fly here because this English is very much broken. Hello, TB. I recently decided to pick up WoW, or went through the trials and things like that, and the Hunter queue was too long, so I made a Paladin tank. Well, I love doing the dungeons, and I like it better than most quests. Now, in one weekend, I got from 1 to 40, and maybe died 3 to 5 times in a dungeon. Most of the time, it was the healer getting lazy, as I would have gloried myself as often I can. But the mobs and bosses are all really easy. I never tanked before I made this tune, and I failed to see how there are actually any lack of tanks. Maybe just at the end game content there's no tanks. Anyway, to my point, every boss is easy so far. Note I've only done Warpwood Center, whatever it's called. I have no idea what that is. And Ragefire and Dead Mines, and I've yet to experience a hard boss. Or maybe just the healing from all of these alt healers with the full bind on account items makes it extremely easy. Well, yeah. I don't know just how challenging it is if you were to go in there with level-appropriate gear as opposed to totted up to the nines with heirlooms and things like that, but it is possible that content is actually easy. I don't necessarily think it's the difficulty of tanking, by the way, that puts people off actually rolling a tank. I think there's external elements to that. Indeed, some people don't want the responsibility, they don't want to be shouted at, and an awful lot of people just want to sit back and do mad deeps, see big numbers, yes, crits, give me the crits. It's just how people are, unfortunately, and there is a shortage of tanks. As regards to how easy the instances are, again, I couldn't tell you, but honestly, if they are turning out to be a little bit easy, considering that you're pretty new to the game, and indeed, it's not just because they're being overgeared by BOA-equipped heirloom guys, then I would turn around and say, Blizz, that needs sorting out immediately. Of course it does. Why wouldn't it need sorting out? No wonder people suck if by the time they get to 85 they've not done a single dungeon, which is hard. That's why you had to nerf the heroics, is it? Apparently so. Whatever the case, as far as I'm concerned, low-level dungeon content should prepare you adequately for the tasks ahead, and if it doesn't, it's not doing its job. Okay, folks, that's your Azeroth Daily for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please thumb this up if you like it, and feel free to thumb it down if you don't. That's what it's there for, and I will see you next time.